Mike is based in St. Louis. And Mike says, for someone like me who has an owner-led sales function in a service business without a sales team, what suggestions do you have of where to start building a sales team? Should I start with an outside salesperson, an inside salesperson, or something else? What are your thoughts, Jack?
Yeah, so I'm gonna say this for this question, but it applies for probably all of them, and that is a good doctor won't necessarily tell you, here, drink this, without asking a lot more questions. So this particular one is really a hot issue in terms of I need to know a whole heck of a lot more from Mike about what his organization is and where it's going and all that type of thing. So let me just take a crack at this, recognizing with that proviso. It depends big time on Mike's vision. What is it that he's trying to build? If let's just say, I'm going to pull numbers out of the air. Let's just say he's a $5 million annual sales driven company, but his aspirations are to be 20 to 30 million, and he'd like to do that over the next 5 years. Well, then I would tell you, get yourself a sales manager on board straight away to build the team. Most of the time, Morné, as you know, you hire a good sales manager, and that sales manager builds their team. In less than a year, that sales manager should pay for themselves with the increased business that's driven in the house. An awful lot of entrepreneurs and business owners do a slow creep. One ad at a time, a half of a person, a full-time, an inside or an outside. And that's a long, hard slog. If you're fully committed to your vision, and the vision is to really pop, then go for it. I mean, if you're not going for it, then I question whether you really buy into the vision yourself. Now, it could be, if I put that aside, it could be an inside salesperson if all you're looking for is somebody to set appointments for you, the owner-led sales guy who's booking the deals. If we're looking for appointment setter, that's an inside sales type of person. How about somebody that's going to go get their own leads and drive their own business? For me, in most businesses, that's an outside salesperson. And then I just wrap it all together and say, pay attention to how you compensate whatever those roles are that you're thinking about. And my bias, as you know, is always the closer I get to commission only, the better I find I sleep at night, in spite of the resistance that I hear in countries and in businesses about, well, in our business or our country, we can't get that done. Well, that's an attitude issue. That was covered on mindset in the session that we did. Yep. If you think you can't, then you'll be right. If you think you can, you'll be right.
Fantastic.
So I'll pass it back to you. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, actually, a follow-up question that I wanted to ask you, because I get this a lot with the similar kind of question that comes up. And I'll say to business owners, we'll talk about the 3 sins of sales management, which you, of course, made famous over the last 20 years. And one of those sins, as we know, is to take your best salesperson and promote them to a sales manager. And what companies will often tell me is, well, I can't afford a sales manager, and I certainly can't afford one who doesn't sell. I'm a small company. I'm still in the startup, scaling up phase. I'm not yet at the critical mass revenue where I can afford to have a sales manager who does not themselves carry a bag, to use a master's reference. Yeah. What would you say to that?
Yeah, so, an awful lot comes back to compensation. Look, if you give me the role of a sales manager and tell me that your vision is you really want to pop this company, and I'm going to need to go hire, let's say, 8 to 10 salespeople straight away, and you tell me that you'd like 2/3 to 3/4 of my income to be riding on the backs of the team I build, and I'm at risk with that team, but that at risk gives me all this upside if they were to just knock the ball out of the park. I want that deal all day long. And in fact, I might negotiate for even less space for more upside because I've got so much confidence. Look, I've built fast growing teams. I can remember one of my companies where we started with 10 salespeople, and in 1 year we were 120 salespeople. Now, if I had paid myself to run that team based upon the profitability or the revenues that were generated in that company, the base would be a rounding error compared to what I would have made on the upside of hiring that. So again, it's a mindset thing. You have to sell it in terms of the opportunity. And if the individual buys into your vision and buys into their ability to scale, then there should not be real hesitancy about betting on themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what I'm hearing you describing, Jack, is that salesperson, sales manager who you hire and they want to wake up every morning and chew raw meat off the bone. Something that is hard to teach.
Listen, I'm going to, we're doing this spontaneity here, and I love it. I'm going to throw you right into the mix. You have uprooted your life completely from another country and imported yourself into Florida, and you could have gone and stayed where you were. You could have been hired at a salary of some significance with some upside and all of those certainties, and yet you unplugged yourself from your comfortable place and said, I'm going to make a bet because the upside is tremendous, and you know what, I have enough confidence in myself to pull this thing off. And you've been on a run ever since making that decision.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it's there's certainly some tools, Mike, that we could talk about and give you. We can talk about bringing a prospecting mindset to recruitment. You have to always be looking. You have to get really clear about the profile and the traits of the person you want. You've got to build your virtual bench. You've got to have a courting process. You've got to look outside your industry. These are all things that you would have heard me and Jack talk about, which are the steps that you can follow to find that A player, that sales manager or salesperson who will wake up in the morning and want to chew raw meat off the bone. Build that team in quantity and quality, or build the sales by growing the customers they have or finding new ones. But as Jack says, I think it starts with mindset. And the challenge back to you, Mike, is how much do you believe in your vision, and will you back yourself to make it happen?